Hey, Mike, can you hear me?
Hey, I can hear you. How are you?
Perfect. I'm good. How are you?
Pretty good. Pretty good.
I'm just now over being jet lagged. This
I
one,
bet.
yeah, this jet lag was brutal. It took me like 3 days. Um, but yeah, I'm back.
That's great.
How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. We just got back from London. Not
Ah, nice.
quite as long a trip or as significant a jet lag, I'm sure. But
Yeah. London's fun. Love that city.
yeah, I've never really spent much time there. I've been there, but not really for any length. So
How
we
long
went
were
over,
you?
got in the Taylor Swift show and all kinds of things.
Oh, yeah, you really? That's
Yeah, we just
hilarious.
scored some tickets. So
Amazing. Amazing.
yeah,
The three of you? All three of you went?
yeah, yeah.
Oh, that's a good time. That's great. Fantastic. Um, did you eat at any good restaurants right out there?
I had some good Indian food.
Yeah, really good Indian food.
Oh,
Uh, I should have told you. I didn't know that you were going there. There's a restaurant called St. John. Like it's one of my favorite restaurants
oh,
ever.
really?
Yeah,
Oh,
not only in London, but like ever. I love that place. Um,
great.
it's just so simple, but it's like perfect. And they also like they do really good wine program. They also make their own wine as well. Yeah, cool place.
Great.
Next up, next up.
Yes. Have to go again.
Excellent. Um, for those of you who are just opening this, I actually think this wine is going to open up quite a bit with some time. So if you want to decant it, go ahead. If not, just save some and see how it goes. But I do think it's going to change quite a bit with time, with some air. Um, oh, look at that baby. Look at that baby. The baby head. I mean, I see two babies. What's up, Bridget?
Sorry, hi.
What's happening?
Just hanging out. I saw the dad was here and I wanted to see the babies.
I hear you guys went to a Taylor Swift concert in
We
London.
did do that. We did do that. It was really
That's
awesome.
it's pretty incredible.
Yeah, it was pretty cool.
Yeah. Uh, when are you going off to college? Next year?
Yeah,
Yeah, is
I'm a
that right?
senior.
Yeah, that's right. Damn, time flies. Can't believe you're a junior in high school already.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yep.
Yeah, you were in middle school when we started all this.
That's true. Yeah, because you guys started this during COVID, right? I was in seventh
Yeah,
grade when
2020.
when 2020 I was in seventh grade.
Yeah, now you're about to go off to college.
It's gonna be
Oh,
fun.
wild. It's wild.
It's good to
You
see you
make
guys.
you make me feel old, Bridget.
Thank you. Okay. No, no.
Excellent.
All right. I'm gonna. Yeah. Nice to see you guys.
Nice to see you, Bridget. Oh, and Miss Dahan has joined us there, huh? Are you done with your done with the primary deadline, right? Like the final
Yeah, it
fundraising deadline,
happened.
all
I
that.
didn't win.
Oh, it did happen. Primary did happen. All right. Sorry.
It's okay. We planned for this, didn't we, Woon?
Yeah. How how are you feeling about it? When did this all happen?
Last Tuesday.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
How are you feeling?
Shitty. But
Yeah.
I mean, I did the best I could in the time
Yeah.
that I had, and I'm pretty proud of it. I
Yeah.
mean, I announced 5 months ago, and I wasn't able to raise enough money to raise the awareness to like compete with the other people in the
Yeah.
race. And that's disappointing, but I had some really great supporters, and I'm proud of it. And people are reaching out, and new things are going to open up. So
Sure. Sure. Well, I mean, we talked about this when you were going into it, but it's all journey, it's all a learning path, and I'm sure it'll set you up for greater things that come if you want to try it again. But either way, we're proud of you. I'm proud of you,
thank you.
and
Thanks to everybody. I just want to say thank you to everyone. Yeah, you
yeah,
guys are so great.
way to get in there and actually do it. You know,
Yeah.
that alone deserves a lot of props, in my opinion. So,
Thank you.
well, yeah.
Oh my
Well,
gosh, 'cause
Florida.
wow, this is like a development that I'm seeing for the first time. I missed it. You had a baby.
Yeah, they're babies.
That's amazing.
Leah had a baby. Well, I think you've seen Chris and Hallie's baby before, but yeah. Yep, they're babies. They're babies.
Perfect activity to do at home.
All right, well, let's get started. Welcome, everyone. Welcome to the last week of the Basque Box, where, I mean, you should be left with the last bottle, but you should have this one, the one that doesn't sound Spanish, the only bottle that doesn't sound Spanish. 2021 Domaine Brana Irouleguy Blanc. That is a really hard word to say, even in French. I'm sure I'm butchering that, but there it is. I don't really have announcements. We've all wrapped up for next month. Process all the wines. Next Tuesday is your pickup day. And we'll get started on the 4th with our Cali box. I'm calling it a new Cali box. Yeah, so these are all the kind of new wave, new revolution, the third wave of a California wine, in my opinion, that's taking place right now in California. And then just wanted to highlight some of those things. So some of those producers and what they're doing out there, some cool stuff happening. So yeah, but besides that, don't really have any other announcements. Last but not least, this month we are donating to Freedom from Hunger. So if you want to check out what they do, or if you want to donate alongside 6 Foot Wine Club, the link is right there. Besides that, I don't have anything else. Do you have any questions about next month or logistics or whatnot before we get into the wine? All right, cool. Hearing none, let's get into it. Let's start with a map. I'm sorry, hold on. I should have pulled this up. Sorry. Sure. There you go. All right. Here's a map of France. We've been looking at Spain all month, but finally for the last week, we're going to France. So Basque country, or País Vasco, is actually, it straddles both Spain and France. The País Vasco in Spain is right up here, right? It actually goes down into Navarro, next to Rioja. Even some parts of northern Rioja is considered Basque country, but really what we've been focusing on this month has been here on the kind of northeastern corner of Spain, where Bilbao, San Sebastian, some of the cities that you may be familiar with where they are. But the Basque country extends all the way in, and on the other side of Pyrenees, or the eastern side of Pyrenees, there's this little sliver, this little orange part. So in the French wine world, we're literally looking at just kind of southwest of France. I mean, this is where you may recognize some wines like Cahors is probably some of the most popular ones. Here's a city of Toulouse, if you've ever been there. Fantastic city, fun city. But we're really all the way down here, right up against the Spanish border, right on the foothills of the Pyrenees is basically where we are. If you look a little more closely, nope, that's not it. Nope. All right, hold on for a second. What just happened there? Here we go. All right, so if you look a little more closely, this is kind of what it looks like. Southwest of France. So yeah, I mean, we've had a box around Southwest France before. You're probably familiar with the Armagnac. Cognac's kind of a cousin, or I should say more rustic cousin. Huge fan of Armagnac. It comes from this area, Côte de Gascon. This is where Mary Taylor's Côte de Gascon from here was one of the most popular wines we've ever sold on 6 Foot Wine Club. It comes from right here. Cahors, the birthplace of Malbec. They call it Côte here, but Malbec, you may think that it comes from Argentina, but it actually comes from here. It has moved its way to Argentina, but this is where it comes from. So yeah, this is Gaillac. We've had some wines from Gaillac as well. So yeah, this is kind of where the Southwest is, really kind of dry place, a lot of history, a lot of medieval history there. Really affordable wines, but also really good quality, really like good value proposition, good bang for your buck kind of thing. But when you go all the way into the final frontier of France before you cross over into Spain is Irouleguy, which is where we are this month. It is the only appellation that exists in all of France, French Basque country. So this little part is what we're talking about. I just wanted to, while I was doing this research for today, I kind of came across some articles which I thought was quite interesting because, I was really looking at it more from the difference and similarity between the wines themselves, but there's actually some cultural difference between Spanish Basque Country and French Basque Country, even though this all used to be ruled under the same kingdom. That's why it's called Basque Country, and then that's why it straddles the border between the two. But there's some stark difference between the two. So, for example, on Spanish Basque Country has an autonomy. They have a regional parliament. They have their own government, which has its own kind of significant power, actually. But in contrast, the French Basque Country does not have any autonomous status and is governed directly by the French central government. So, in fact, the Spanish Basque Country, there's even a bit of a nationalist kind of an independence movement that's happening there. People think that they should secede from Spain. That's how strong it is. But French Basque Country does not have that. Language as well. Euskera is the language, the local language that's the Basque language that's spoken in the Basque Country. Both regions share the same language. They both speak it. In Spain, Basque is an official language and it is spoken pretty widely spoken. But in France, the Basque is not an official language, and in fact, its use is declining. So there's that difference as well. The cultural preservation, the Spanish Basque Country has made significant efforts to kind of preserve and promote kind of Basque culture, the food, traditions and festivals and all that stuff. On the other side, in France, Basque culture is also present, but it is not as strongly protected or as promoted by the government. It's more of just kind of an individual kind of effort. Economic development as well. If you've ever been to San Sebastian or Bilbao, you will know that Spanish Basque Country is one of the most developed regions in all of Spain. I believe it has one of the highest income level in all of Spain, and one of the highest living standards. French Basque Country, on the other hand, I mean, this whole Southwest in general, but particularly Irouleguy and going into here, Juan-Chlon, French Country is very economically, it lags behind the rest of the country in terms of development. It's kind of a bit of a country town. National identity-wise, it's touched upon briefly, but yeah, Basque Country, they're even shooting for their own independence, nationalist movement. In France, they're very closely tied to the central French government, and they identify themselves as French as well. And food and drink-wise, obviously, in Spain, there are pinchos. God bless pinchos, one of the greatest culinary creations ever. But, they have very strong, its own kind of a food that's separate and different from the rest of the country. However, in France, and on the French side, it's not so much so. There's some similarities to the Basque sheep milk cheese that's shared between both countries, but in terms of very distinct kind of cuisine, Irouleguy doesn't necessarily have that. So those are some of the different things. But both countries, obviously, both cultures share a strong kind of sense of community and a regional identity and the Basque identity. And they apparently also maintain, they do have family members and distant cousins and whatnot across a family, across the borders. So they do keep in quite a bit of contact with each other and communication closely. But those are some of the differences between the two countries, which I did not know. But yeah, here you go. Anyways, let's talk about Irouleguy just a little bit more. Runs along, as you can see, this is a Pyrenees that divides Spain and France. Runs along steep hillside of Pyrenees mountains within the French Basque Country, which is right here. Vineyards are planted between 200 and 450 meters, which is about 650 to 1,500 feet, and it can have inclines up to 70%. It is a very, very steep kind of a place. As you can see, they're kind of planted to these narrowly terraced vineyards like this. This is actually a picture straight from this Domaine Brana website. This is their winery. This is their actual domain. And this is their estate vineyard that runs up on the hillsides, right up against the vineyards. As you can see, it's very lush, it's very green. But again, very, very steep. I mean, look at this little path. I guess that's where the car goes, but you have to go down, collect all the grapes, bring it out here. Yeah, it requires a lot of work. Obviously, working in these narrow, steep terrace vineyards like this, everything is done manually. Nothing mechanical harvesting or farming is not really possible. Here's a picture of Jean Brana, which is a father of the current owner. I believe this is his mother, but anyways, is there as they were planting the vineyards. But this is their cellar. Thought I had some other pictures. That's not it. But oh, I guess not. Maybe that's the only picture I had. All right. Well, anyways, this is what that looks like. The soil type here is red sandstone. It's really rich in iron. And also there's outcrops of limestone and clay here and there as well. So limestone and clay, very classic. Everybody, Burgundy has it. Loire has it. Parts of Loire has it. It's the perfect combination that people kind of want for wine. But on top of that here, there's a lot of iron-rich soil that gives a very particular kind of a minerality that are grown here. The Pyrenees and the surrounding mountains, so all these high peaks, they kind of stop all the moisture from the Atlantic Ocean coming in, and the Bay of Biscay, all the moisture, and blocks the rain. So it's not as rainy as the Spanish Basque Country, but it is a little more arid, a little more continental here. Means it gets quite cold in the wintertime, gets quite warm in the quite hot in the summertime. But the spring here is where it gets some rain. So cool and wet spring is balanced by the Indian summer, which is quite hot here, which allows the full ripening of the grapes. So rarely do they have any problem with the ripening of the grapes here. If anything, it's quite the opposite. It may get little. Also, the type of the varieties that are grown here, which is we're talking about Petit Manseng, Gros Manseng, which can have a lot of natural sugar. And so the alcohol can get quite high if you let it, if you farm it too long, you let it ripen too long. So those are all some of the things that they have to look out for as a farmer here. We looked at the pictures for a bit, but who makes this wine are these two people. It's not a husband and wife, it's actually brother and sister. The Brana started as a wine and spirits negociants in Basque Country in 1897. So they've been making wine for some time. And then it's something that they continue to do today. They're still a wine spirits negociant, but they also make their own wine. A few generations on, in 1974, Etienne Brana decided to plant a pear orchard and build a distillery in where they are located now. They will focus on distilling local fruits such as pears, plums, and raspberries and things like that. Their eau de vie, which is the French kind of a distillate, fruit distillate. Is considered one of the best, not only in France, but in the world. It's quite sought after. But yeah, we're tasting their wine today, not their Irouleguy. 10 years later, in 1984, and 100 years after Phylloxera kind of destroyed all the vineyards through France and Spain, Etienne planted 20 hectares of vines, making the Brana as the first in Irouleguy to plant on a meaningful scale. Everybody here is a very small scale. I mean, even 20 hectares is not really big in grand scale of things in terms of a wine world, but it is considered one of the bigger ones, Domaine Brana. It's now 22 hectares, but yeah, it's still this very small still. Tragically, in 1992, the year before the completion of the Brana's winery, you saw in that picture, Etienne died. That's the dad that was planting the grapes. This is Etienne. Yeah, unfortunately, tragically, he passed away. He left his wife, Adrienne, which I believe this is her on the right, Adrienne, and their two children, Martine and Jean, which are these folks. So Martine and Jean to carry on with the project. Jean took over the vineyards and winemaking after studying enology, then interned with a Basque neighbor and winemaker at Chateau Petrus. And if you know anything about Bordeaux, Chateau Petrus is considered one of the top dogs and highly sought after, very reputable winery. So he cut his teeth with some heavyweights. Martine took over the sourcing of the fruit and the distilling. So Jean takes care of the vineyards and the winemaking, and then Martine takes care of the orchards and kind of the distilling operations of the property. Most recently, in 2018, they built a new structure, housing a new distillery and a tasting room. The Branas are respected not only in the Basque country, but internationally for their eau de vie, like I mentioned, considers one of the best in France. Their farming philosophy is kind of biodiverse. They moved away from organic certification just because they allowed using copper, and they believe copper is terrible for their land. They believe copper, I mean, it is true, copper does make their soil toxic. So they said any certification program that allows something like copper to be used, we don't want to be part of that. So they moved away from it. They even stopped, and then they abandoned most of the biodynamic the practices they also had going on. Instead, what Jean focuses on is really increasing the biodiversity. So they have a HVE certification. Some of the wines that we feature here have those. It's kind of like organic without any of the sulfur or copper allowed in the field, and it's a lot more about like sustainable biodiversity with the various flora and fauna in the vineyards. Anyways, the results has been return of insects and birds that hadn't been seen in the vineyards for years, as well as 110 plant species that cohabitate with the vines. To celebrate this development, Jean redesigned all the wine labels so that each one features one of the indigenous birds found in the vineyards. Unfortunately, the wine, well, not necessarily unfortunately, but the wine that we're tasting today obviously doesn't have the bird on it. But Jean has two lines of wines. There's a Brana and there's Domaine Brana, and we're tasting Domaine Brana today. Brana is a one that features those birds that he was talking about, and they're delicious, but they're meant for more like immediate, youthful, kind of approachable consumption at a more approachable price. And then Domaine Brana is their kind of quote unquote more serious, more classic kind of higher end bottling. I tasted both. They're both delicious, but this one just kind of spoke to me a little bit more. And I had the budget in this month's box to put it in there, so it'll work out. So what is this wine? It is. Oh, actually, before we get into it. Actually, I'll get there in a second. This is a blend of 70% Gros Manseng, 15% Petit Manseng, 15% Petit Corbu is what this wine is. It's an indigenous grape varieties from this region. For those of you who had a Jurançon sec, I've been on a tear to make Jurançon Sec the next big thing in American wine consumers for I don't even know how long, and I've been failing miserably because people don't know how to pronounce Jurançon, and they're like, I don't want to drink that because I don't know how to pronounce it. But Jurançon is delicious. You should all drink Jurançon. But anyways, Gros Manseng, Petit Manseng, Petit Corbeau, all of that kind of runs it in this area. Jurançon, Irouleguy, and all of that. For the red wine that's made here, we're talking about Cabernet Franc. Or the Unripe Belsa, which is in the Spanish Basque country, the red wine. Picked from the high elevation with the Gros Manseng, planted in soils of compressed sandstone, like I mentioned, and Petit Manseng and the Petit Corbeau are planted in limestone soil, so two different kind of soil types. Spontaneous fermentation with a 70% in stainless steel, so majority stainless steel, and then 30% does go into neutral barrels, so we get a little bit of just a little rounding, little sanding of the sharp corners, just to kind of round it out a little bit. Stays on lees for 9 months before being bottled. It's filtered, but it's not fine. And I wanted to show you this video, and we've talked about this a while back. Hold on. I've used this word batonnage before. And I found this clip of what batonnage actually is. It's essentially a fancy French word for stirring of the lees. So when wine is stored on the lees for short, medium, or long, any period of time, oftentimes there will be some batonnage done. And again, it's a fancy French word for stirring of the lees. And this is what batonnage looks like. So check it out. So that's what batonnage looks like. That's essentially what's been done to this wine before it was filtered and bottled. But for 9 months, every once in a while, a winemaker will go in there and stir up all those lees. And it's done for a few reasons. And one is to add flavor. So, but with the 9 months, you're not really talking about flavor. It's not long enough to really impart flavor, like a leesy, aromatic flavor. It's more for texture of the wine. So when you stir those lees in there, the wine kind of builds up this body. It rounds out some of the edges. So the wine becomes less, if you're, think of the wine in terms of shape, it becomes less jagged. It becomes a little more smoother, like a rounder on the edges. So yeah, I found that clip, so I figured, perfect. I'll show you what batonnage is, what lees aging, what you do during lees aging. All right, that's all I got. Any questions about anything I just went over before we taste some wine? Excellent. Let's taste the wine. Moby. All right, here we go. Who wants to take the appearance? Oh, God damn it, I love this wine. Come on, who wants to
I'll
take the
take
appearance?
it to avoid any future indictments.
Indictment. Okay.
Well, I'm out of practice, and we've been trying to think about the smells. But also this is Hope, my campaign manager.
Oh God, poor Blake.
But
Hey, Phil.
Hello.
We are, yes,
You can see
just
the glass.
drowning our sorrows. Okay, so in terms of clarity, it's clear.
This wine is clear.
Intensity, I would say it's medium intensity,
Yes,
for sure. And then in terms of color, ooh, that was a tough one. I feel like it's like lemon gold. I don't.
Where's the color?
Yeah, right up here. Right here. I don't know. I mean, it looks here even in the thing. It looks like more than lemon.
Yeah, I agree. I think there's a lot of gold fleck in this wine.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We're supposed to
to
be holding it
me,
against something white. The lighting in here is terrible. Sorry.
yeah,
Sorry, guys.
to me, this is like,
Maybe.
I don't want to go, yeah, you know what, honestly, I'll probably call this medium gold.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's probably about what I would call this.
Medium gold. Okay,
yeah.
so it's like it's not even light gold. Okay, all right, cool. All right, that's good. All right.
Yeah, it's definitely past lemon at this point to me.
Yeah.
Like,
Okay.
It's
All right.
it's got some color to it for sure.
Definitely, for
And
sure. Yeah.
again, all that lees aging, also being in barrels. Whenever wine comes in contact with the oxygen, and then barrels, usually there's a bit of a micro oxygenation that happens. And it's part of the reason why you put wine in barrels, because you do want it exposed to a little bit of oxygen. And then when white wine comes in contact with oxygen, the color usually changes from, if it started out with like a lemon, it will start picking up this kind of a gold color, and then start becoming a little more amber and brown and all of that over time. So it makes sense that knowing that this has spent 9 months in barrels. Kind of
Yeah. So gold, where there's no question that it's gold. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
That's
I agree with that. Okay. And then other observations, we skipped the legs and tears. I'll explain it to you later. And then deposit, no. Petillance, it's the bubbles, no. And the bubbles, yeah. So I think we're good.
Yeah, right on. You get to pick the next person for the notes.
Okay. Well, does anybody want to do it? Otherwise,
Oh wow.
I will.
I'll pick. I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
No,
well,
no.
You do it because then you have no history.
You literally just like go like that, blind doing it.
Love it.
So sorry.
No, do it.
Oh, I want to go with Phil. I'm going to go with Julia, just because you look really cool.
Julia is my fave. Hi, Julia. And hey, I would have chosen all.
It was Mike was like right after, like, it's here.
Catherine, all of you. I would choose you all.
I just slid the screen and it's here I land.
Okay, let's do this. And yes, congrats, Liz. We're all rooting for you. I'm sorry, but you know, you're a hero and you're a trooper. We've been
So much free time now. It's like hard not to spend it on drinking wine. That's my big challenge. I need to talk to Un.
Yeah,
How
you're
do I
doing the
channel
right
all my
thing.
wine drinking into money making?
Excellent. We'll talk. All right, Julia, Dan.
this wine's clean.
This wine is clean. This wine is sound. Intensity.
I mean, it's like medium plus. I would say medium plus.
Yeah, I would call this a medium plus. I'm like,
Yeah.
here. I'm like 3. Yeah. I'm gonna call this a medium plus as well. It's quite expressive.
Yeah, Dan, your nose is trash. We know this.
Yeah.
For smell every single time.
Medium plus intense aromas. Oof. You got.
I mean, I don't get a ton of floral, maybe some like honeysuckle.
Yeah. I was gonna say honeysuckle. I think
Yeah.
exactly honeysuckle. Yeah. There's a touch of floral, little honeysuckle there, a little pretty. Any green fruit?
Yeah, I mean, there's apple.
Yeah, maybe some green apple or some pear.
Yeah. I get like yellow apple. Yeah, like really ripe yellow apple. But yeah, definitely some green fruit here for sure. I agree with your call. But yeah.
And if I
really
knew what a quince smelled like, maybe, but it's still absolutely lost on me.
Well, I think that right now is actually quince season. All right, I'm gonna go to National Arboretum and I'm gonna steal a quince just so you can smell it. I know exactly where the quince tree is. So
Where is it?
it's in the Asian selection.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
this,
that's a lovely part of the Arboretum. Did not know there was a Quince tree there.
yeah, there, and it just kind of falls just naturally on the ground, and then like the park ranger is always coming over like clean them up to throw them away. I'm like, you can eat those things. I'm like, I don't know what to do with it. I'm like, oh. Anyways, citrus fruit.
Yeah, I mean, there's lemon.
Yep. Yeah, really ripe lemon too. Like I get
Yeah.
like Irish lemon. Yeah.
Maybe some like grapefruit zest.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
can see that. Any stone fruit?
Yeah, there's like apricot.
Yeah.
Got a little apricot.
Okay. I don't get much stone fruit, but good
Oh,
apricot.
okay. Well,
I feel like you guys get apricot. You guys get stone fruit in a lot of.
Really nice.
I will find stone fruit in anything.
When in doubt, call it.
We got these fruits from the farmer's market. That's a combination of a plum and an apricot.
Yeah,
It's delicious.
the plum cut, right? What is it
Yeah, or
called?
something
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah. Yeah, I love those things. Yeah. Any tropical?
I don't think so.
Not really.
Yeah, I don't get any tropical.
As discussed last week, I will leave wine club if we get a banana wine. I'm not not,
Now I have to go find your
not
banana.
here for that.
All right, I'm gonna find your banana. Red, black.
No,
Okay. Nature of the fruit.
it's ripe.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, like fresh, ripe, but not like stewed, not
Right.
cooked. It's like a natural fruit, but like really ripe. Like there's nothing unripe about this wine.
Yeah.
Any herbaceous, herbal?
I don't think so.
Yeah, me neither. I don't get any savory thing here. Any pungent spice, any rockiness?
Not really.
Maybe like a little bit of rock dust in there.
I get a ton of minerality, to tell the truth. I get a ton of like wet slatey kind of like wet stone kind of a thing. And this part is probably a power of suggestion. But I'm like, I feel like there's a little bit of like rusted nail in here. Maybe it's that iron-rich sandstone thing, but I mean that's one of the things that makes this place like a little unique than the rest. Because this Gros Manseng, Petit Manseng, like if you were to blind taste Irouleguy white versus Jurançon Sec white, that's kind of the difference. The Irouleguy has this iron-rich sandstone, and Jurançon does not. Jurançon is much more limestone heavy. So you get these both very mineral driven wine, but if you were to get this on an exam, where would you go? And usually what you're seeking out for is like, is there a sign of like rust, some sort of like irony kind of a thing? And again, that's just how I've been trained, and just knowing that this is a rule game, maybe that's how I'm getting it. Maybe it's actually there. But
we've had that like that wine that does sort of smell and taste like blood.
Yeah.
But I don't really get that.
Yeah, I mean, like
here, but
to me, it's not like that. Some Menthia can get that, like really that sanguine, like bloody kind of a thing. But
you get
to
more.
Me, it's not,
you're
it's not.
Getting like tetanus. Like
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm getting tetanus precisely. But even besides that, like to me, there's a ton of minerality here, and then that's part of what I ended up choosing this versus their bird wine, because the bird wine was a lot about fruit primary, keep it going, like all very approachable and delicious. But this one has that like the mineral backbone that runs through it, which I really thought was very nice. All right, any secondary?
I mean, not no.
Yeah, I'm not getting much none of this at all. Secondary thing. All the oak that went in there is all neutral oaks, not really for flavor or aromas. Nothing tertiary. Oh, any tertiary?
No.
Yeah, nothing tertiary. This is still very fresh. I mean, 21 is still, I mean, it's 3 years, but it's still very fresh and young, particularly for this style of wine. Yeah, I'm sticking around all right in the primary. Uh, there is, what I was just gonna say? There's, to me, there's a little bit of like, I know this is not a tertiary thing. It just may be going back to this more of a floral note, but there's a touch of honey in this wine. I usually get touch of honey with the Manseng family, the Gros Manseng, Petit Manseng, that world, and particularly the Petit Manseng. But yeah, I get a little bit of that, but really, yeah, I mean, all the things you called out, honeysuckle, kind of ripe green fruit, that apple, pear, all of that, the citrus fruit, maybe a touch of stone fruit, and then fresh, ripe, no unripe greenness, nothing savory, and then to me, just layers and layers of minerality on this thing. So that's what I get. Cool, cool. You get to pick the next person for the palette.
Maybe MikeE.
Hey all. Been a while.
Welcome back, Mike.
Thank you.
Let's get you back in.
All right. This wine is dry.
It's got a lot of fruit, but it is dry. There's no sugar on this wine whatsoever. Yeah, this wine is dry. Acidity.
I'm going to say medium plus.
Mm-hmm. All the Manseng families, and part of the reason why I love that grape variety and Ranson Sec is that it has this high natural sugar and never, it's very expressive grape. Like it's always smelling, there's a lot of things going on with them. But it also keeps, despite its natural high acidity, high sugar, it keeps its natural acidity is very high. And you all know how much I love acid. So there you go.
Yeah.
Medium plus acid. Tannin, we don't have to talk about that. Yeah.
Nothing.
Alcohol.
I haven't looked. I'm going to say about 12 and a half, right? Medium.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't feel 12 half, 13, maybe somewhere around there.
I can't read it.
Good.
Need
13 and a half.
Oh, I'm off.
Yeah. So it's got a little booze on it, but it doesn't, to me, it doesn't drink like 13
It doesn't
and a
taste
half.
hot. No.
Yeah, it doesn't taste hot. It's very well integrated, well balanced, which is great. This area, like I mentioned, particularly with the varieties that are grown here, it is not, I don't go as far as saying not uncommon, but sometimes you will find, especially particularly in warm vintages, you will find wines that will go beyond 14%. Because it just has naturally high in sugar. So when a ripe year comes on, warm year comes around, and sugar ripeness really shoots up, you can get pretty hot. But 21 was this area was not much affected, but the rest of France, 21 was a quite cold vintage. So the fact is a 13 half. It's pretty good, but also Domaine Brana also keeps their wines very in check in terms of their alcohol level. So yeah, 13 and a half, which will put us right in kind of a higher end of medium, lower end of medium plus is kind of where we are. So depending on how you're feeling, can add there. Body.
It's definitely, I would say medium to me. It's not whole milk, it's more 2%, somewhere in there.
Mm-hmm. It's got some body, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's got some weight. And it's part of what I like about the wines from this area, that it's not, even though it has this really high acidity, it's got the intensity of flavors, and it's got some body, it's got some weight, which I really enjoy. Mousse, we obviously don't have to talk about that.
Nope.
Flavor intensity.
I think it's kind of medium plus.
Agreed. It's again, Gros Manseng, all the Manseng families, very expressive grapes. They're not shy. Yeah, I'm gonna call this medium plus as well. Do you confirm everything that Julia and Dan called out? Is there anything else that pops out at you?
For the most part, yeah, I think we're along the same lines. I'm getting, the kind of green fruit. I'm getting, A little citrus for sure, lemon. I guess I get a little stone fruit as well. I was thinking nectarine, but you know.
Okay. Yeah, there's a lot of fruit here. Like
There is.
it's abundance of fruit here, which is great. Anything anything else that sticks out at you?
I don't know that I'm getting things that weren't mentioned before.
Yeah. Yeah, all the
A lot of
fruit.
flavor. A lot of flavor.
Yeah, a lot of fruit, a lot of concentration here. All the things that Julia and Dan called out, I 100% agree. I do see this thing at the end, towards the end of the kind of the palette of the finish. There's a little bit of that kind of savoriness, like that leesy savoriness that kicks in. You can tell there's been some lees aging, some lees stirring on this wine. Not only just in the mouthfeel, if you just without even thinking about the flavor, just kind of move the wine around and then just kind of feel for the wine's kind of a shape of it. Like, there's a lot of like roundness. There's really kind of smooth roundness around this wine, despite its really high medium plus acid that Mike was talking about. And I think a lot of that is because lees aging. Because of lees aging, there's a little bit of savoriness towards the end of the finish that I get. There's that kind of little bit of like a cheese rind kind of a thing. Like the old Parmesan rind that has been left around for a while. There's a little bit of that going on, which is really nice. Complements all that kind of intense fruit that Mike's been talking about. So a little bit of savoriness to finish it out, but then to me, there's that like whetstone, just ton of that whetstone kind of thing running through here, which is delicious. Any secondary, any tertiary?
No, not to me.
Yeah, this is very much so in the primary. 3 years in, this is also in the very, very fresh primary area. The length.
Definitely getting a little bit of length.
What you call it?
Yeah, a medium plus.
Yeah. It immediately hits you with all that fruit, all that primary fruit, the honeysuckle, and all of that. And I got the minerality running through, and then all that finishes out with that kind of savory, leesy quality. Yeah, sticks around quite a bit, kind of evolving. I'm gonna call this a medium plus myself. Take it on for us. How good is this wine? Would you age?
Yeah, I think based on the medium plus in terms of the nose and the it would be. I think we're looking at a very good wine based on the number of medium plus factors.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think you'd want to risk aging this. Drink it now.
Yeah.
It's got the acid but I don't know. I don't know that I'd be interested in seeing what it does in 2 or 3 years.
Mm. So yeah, in terms of quality level, balance, complexity wise, everything was kind of in the primary, but there are a bunch of different things we got going on, right? We got the fruit, we got the flower, green fruit, you guys got some stone fruit, citrus, and then the minerality and all of that, little savory thing. So I would say that's medium, maybe higher in, higher in the medium, lower in the medium plus. And then the concentration wise, we call the medium plus on both the nose and the palate. And then length, we call the medium plus. So yeah, looking at all those, we're looking at pretty much medium plus on average. So we're going to call this very good. In terms of aging, however, I think this wine is delicious right now. I think it's drinking beautifully. But given the acid, it's got the quite high acid, medium plus acid. It's also got a great backbone. And then it's got the concentration, right? We call it medium plus on both nose and the palate. And it's got a bunch of different things all in the primary, which is a prime target for those things to kind of develop into tertiary non-fruit flavors and aromas. I would say this is a great candidate for aging. And I also just know that like this and Jurançon Sec, the Gros Manseng and Petit Manseng wines can age beautifully. A lot of this kind of honeysuckle, honey, and then fruit that we see starts coming on the beeswax, honeyed kind of a area, and so it becomes even more complex. So yeah, given its acid, given its concentration, I would say this is actually, I will put this in. Also knowing how fresh and primary still is in 21, I would say this can easily go for another 5 to 8 years.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
So this is good to know. My gut definitely was not there, Un.
Yeah.
And I'm willing to age a lot of stuff to try it, but I've seen a lot of things that I don't know were really good that went really bad quickly.
Yeah, I mean it can happen. But with this amount of concentration and then this amount of different primary fruit going on and the acid, I think this will go on for a bit. So yeah, my personal bet would be 5 to 8 years. But again, no problem drinking it now. I think it's drinking beautifully right now. I think it's delicious.
Yep.
I think it's great. But yeah. Any questions? Perfect. Perfect. What do you guys think about this wine? You guys all like this one? Did anybody not like this one? Curious.
I found the aftertaste a little bit strange.
Tell me more, Phil.
It was good. And the honey was tasty, and then the aftertaste, it just kind of bitter.
Some phenolic bitterness, yeah. Okay. You guys get bitter? I don't get a lot of bitter, to tell the truth.
I did too. The finish for me was not like a fun finish. Like it was like a hurry up and drink your next sip so that you can end that other feeling that you were having. It's so it was a long finish, but it wasn't like a fun one. I think that's how I experienced it, which maybe is what Dad's talking about, the bitterness. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I love a Jurançon sec, so I mean, if this is a region that I can explore to find others, like I'm excited about them.
Yeah. Yeah, to me, it's honestly, I don't get much phenolic bitterness here. I think everything in this wine is really ripe right now, including the phenolic part. But I do get a little bit of that the least stirring, the batonnage going on here. Perhaps that's not what you guys are not liking, but yeah. Okay. Anyone else? Any other opinion about the wine?
I just feel like it would have been a lot better if I'd had it with food. Like I feel like whenever I have like a fat white like this, it like, I wish I had something that I was pairing it with.
Piece of salty cheese, like a sheet milk cheese with this thing. Beautiful.
Yeah.
It's great. Yeah. You know that
we did the Spanish tortilla.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Which, by the way, if you guys haven't found it, the Trader Joe's one is like really effing good. And okay, fine, it costs $3 more than if you would have made it yourself. But like, you don't have to worry about flipping the damn thing, and you can do it in your microwave.
Wait, Trader Joe's sells Spanish tortilla? Like,
yeah, and it's really good.
Wow.
Yeah, it's really, really, really good.
Trader Joe's does it again.
I'm telling you. Yeah, it's like, it hurts me a little, like that it costs like, more than, 3 potatoes and an onion, but 3 potatoes and an onion costs a lot of money these days, and so do eggs, so.
Fact.
Anyway, highly recommend.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, it's always a surprise. It's like, I'm always trying to gauge whether, like, what would be a crowd pleaser and what wouldn't be, or what people would like about this one, what wouldn't. It always is a fun game for me, at least, to get all your opinion about what you like about it, what you don't like about it. So, all right, let's play our game. How much do you think this is on a retail shelf, and how much would you be happy paying for this on a retail shelf? Probably for most of you, you probably don't have any reference point for Irouleguy. I mean, how often have you had Irouleguy? 25, 20, 26, 20, 28, 25, 25. Wow, okay. $30, 25. All right. Well, you all are gonna be shocked by this price then. Because this on a retail shelf will be $36. I mean, Basque country in general, except for cheap ass chocolate, is not cheap. As in general. They just don't have that economy of scale. But also they're kind of flagship bottling like this. And I think this is a fantastic wine, but some of you guys didn't like it. So, but yeah, this on a retail shelf would be 36. Maybe lay it down, come back to it in 5 to 8 years, and maybe you'll have a different opinion. Let's see. Any other questions? See, this is an interesting thing as a song, right? Like, usually, I didn't think you guys were going to get the price on this thing right, because it is on the higher end of what we usually feature. But I also did not think that you guys were not going to like it, because to me, this is a very much of a crowd pleasing wine. Like, if you like wine, there's not much about this wine that wouldn't hit a lot of marks for people, but always learning, just when I think I figured people's palate out, it always surprises me. It's good. So, any other questions, comments?
So we were noticing, and I don't know if anybody else had this experience, but like there would be like super intense floral notes, and then it would go away. Like, did anybody else notice this? Because
over time in the glass?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was like jasmine or something in the beginning, or some sort of a white. Yeah, we could figure it out. And then it was really fragrant, and I don't know. So maybe it was just too many glasses, who knows? But like, it's definitely changed.
Yeah, like I guess I sort of saw it as well. Like, usually it's like over time the intensity gets higher, right?
Yeah.
Like, and in some ways, like if it was cooler, it had a better flavor.
Huh.
Like,
Strange.
yeah, I don't know.
Oh, maybe that's it.
Maybe because you guys so intensely looking for it and keep smelling it, your nose has just gotten used to it, just gotten desensitized to the actual smell. So, which also happens, which is true. Yeah, I've been told that when I was preparing to take exams, I like, usually try to suss out the wine in like the first 3 whiffs, because more and more you smell, more and more you become desensitized to the smells out of the glass. So whatever your initial kind of immediate kind of what you pick out is the one you should go with. Like, okay. But it's true, like you keep going back to the glass, you keep trying to smell the same thing, after a while it smells exactly the same. Does happen. What did you think about the Basque box this month? Any new revelations? Any new realizations, good or bad? Like, wow, I didn't realize Basque wines were good. I fucking hate Basque wines now. Oh, whatever.
I like the sparkling red. That was very good.
The rosé, you mean?
Yes, the rosé, sparkling rosé. That was really tasty.
Interesting, because that is a least Basque-like of the 4 that we I love that that's your favorite. Like the red one, yeah, that was good. Yeah. The white, the Gorondona was very like stable. I mean, it's very well made wine, but it is exactly kind of classic benchmark chocolate, what it should taste like. Yeah, the red was a shocker for me, actually. how good it was. You don't see a lot of red coming out of Spanish Basque Country, particularly good ones. But yeah, I was quite surprised with that one. And then the chocolate rosé, I mean, so rare. Like that's not what you see. Like traditional method sparkling chocolate, like that's crazy. Rosé, especially, you don't see that very much at all. But yeah, that one was a banger. And you guys disagree, but I think this is a banger. I think this one was fantastic. But it's also like you can kind of see, right? Like if you had to blind those four wines, I don't know. I think I can clearly see the Spanish touch in the first three and the French touch in the fourth one. There's a lot of this kind of French sensibility about this wine that the other three did not have. Like it's just different vibe. I don't know if you guys are getting that or but like without even like calling out where it's from, just by tasting it, just by smelling it, like this is definitely like just smelling this. To me, this is definitely not a Spanish one. Like there's nothing that is hot and warm and arid, and even from the top, northern Spain where it's very green, there's nothing that smells like this from Spain, and vice versa. There's nothing that I've smelled there that's like that Corondona. There's nothing else that can be except for chocolate. Maybe Unripe really early picked Albarino, you could maybe argue, but even then it would have a little more aromatics. But yeah, that Corondona has Basque and Spain written all over it. So anyways, I thought that was interesting. Any other questions? Yeah, also try this with food, and then also let it sit. I think this wine is gonna change quite a bit with the air. So if you have some wine left, come back to it tomorrow and see how that feels. All right. Well, hearing no other questions, I'm gonna turn off the recording.